Welcome back, everyone. I'm Robin from This Blog's Neat, and Phil, thank you, Phil, sent me a bunch of samples of rum, and I'm going to taste the rest of the samples that he has sent me. I previously tasted 3 of the samples that he sent me that were all Grand Aromes or Aroma Grande rums. You can check out that video. But what I'm trying today are 4 rums that are all high ester rums. They're all supposedly funky rums, and not all of them are from Jamaica. I'm going to split this tasting up into 4 different videos so that I can spend enough time focusing on each of these distilleries and talk more in depth about each of the rums versus me trying to kind of move through them quickly. But if you are one of my Patreons, you will have my tasting notes for all 4 of these rums already. And I want to give a shout out to my Patreons. Thank you guys so much for helping to support the channel. And if you, the viewer, would also like to support the channel, you can do the normal YouTube things like, subscribe, comment, share the video with your friends, or you could join us over on Patreon, and I would be super thankful if you did that. Now, what I'm going to try first is Dropworks Funk Drop at 63% ABV. It has a very cool label. I'm sure if you are in the UK, even if you're not in the UK, you have probably seen these bottles. They're very colorful, hard to miss. And that's what I'm starting with because of the 4 that I have in front of me. Even though this is called Funk Drop, it is definitely the tamest of the 4. So Dropworks was founded in, I think, 2022, 2023. So they are a relatively new distillery, and they're located in Nottinghamshire. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you pronounce it, but they're located in Britain, and they are the largest rum distillery in Europe. So I saw a video posted by one of their founders or their founder at the very beginning of when they opened up that said they had the capabilities of producing 10 barrels of rum per day. I don't believe that's how much they're making, but they at least have the capabilities or capacity of producing 10 barrels of rum per day, which is a good amount of rum. Interestingly, they use a lot of cane syrup for their rums, for fermenting their rums. I believe they also use some molasses as well, but primarily what they're using is cane syrup, which is cool. They also have 3 cultivated yeast strains that they use together and call their Wild Trinity. And they use that for a lot of their different expressions. For Funk Drop in particular, this was fermented for 7 days using dunder. Future Robin here to clarify that Dropworks does not actually use dunder in the fermentation of Funk Drop. On their website, they say that they do use dunder. However, when speaking with their distiller, they do not use dunder in their fermentation because it stalls out the fermentation. Instead, they use muck and cane vinegar at the very end once primary fermentation has completed. So I just wanted to make that correction right now. They also have a double retort pot still. It's very shiny and brand new. I believe they also have a hybrid still, and I think that hybrid still has several columns attached to it. But for Funk Drop, they use their double retort pot still for the distillation. And it says that they add muck into the distillation, which I believe gets added into the retorts. And I've reached out to the distiller to find out what they use for their muck and how they've created their muck. I will let my Patreons know when I hear back how they've created their muck. But on their website, it says that it's aged dunder. And then what comes off the still is anywhere from 75 to 83% ABV. Again, this is at least for Funk Drop. Now they have other expressions. They have Clear Drop, which is kind of like their cleaner rum. This is made using molasses and cane syrup. It's a blend of 4 different marks. and they're using their Wild Trinity yeast strains as well as some other yeast strains that are undisclosed. The fermentation time is anywhere from like 4 to 7 days. They're using the double retort still and the column still. So again, I think this is just they're doing multiple different rums and then blending them together to create a lighter, more approachable rum. They also have a spice drop, which is their spiced rum, and a dark drop, which is I think has molasses added back into it. And one that I'm very curious if any of you have tried is a distillery exclusive that is their super funk drop. So if anyone's located near the distillery and has given super funk drop a try, let me know what that tastes like. But for that one versus funk drop, they are also adding in some cane vinegar, which I believe gets added into the fermentation, and they're doing an extended fermentation for 1 month. Similarly, they also add muck into the retorts, I'm guessing, for the distillation. And on their website, it says that it has 930 esters. Esters aren't a unit of measure, so I didn't know what the actual concentration of the esters was and what esters they were measuring, etc. So I reached out to them over on Instagram and I got some answers. They are talking about the concentration of ethyl acetate only, and that is in units of milligrams per liter, aka ppm, parts per million. And if the chemical analysis was done at 63% ABV, which is the bottle strength of Super Funk Drop, that would put the ester concentration, the ethyl acetate concentration, at around 148 grams of ethyl acetate per hectoliter of pure alcohol, which is in units that we are more familiar with looking at. And in comparison to like the Hamden 8 marks, this falls right between LFCH and L Rock. So as far as Jamaican funk goes, on the lower end. Now keep in mind, this is for Super Funk Drop, not Funk Drop. I'm only trying the Funk Drop today. And Funk Drop does not have an ester concentration reported on their website. But again, I have reached out to the distiller and I'll find out what the ester concentration is, if they have it, of Funk Drop. And I'll let my Patreons know how that compares. But anyways, I think we'll dive in. I'm excited to try Funk Drop because it's one of the bottles that has sat in my whiskey exchange cart along with a lot of other bottles. They're just sitting there waiting for me to select purchase one of these days. So yeah, we'll start with this. It's completely unaged. I think I said that. And just to recap, it's cane syrup based. It is fermented for a week using their Wild Trinity yeast, cultivated yeast. It's distilled in a double retort pot still, and it's bottled at 63% ABV, which is the magic proof for overproof rums. So, first impressions. For something that has funk in the name, I'm not getting funk. It's very, very, very light and clean to me. Keep in mind, I also have 3 much higher ester rums that are right next to me. So this is in comparison to those as well. But this is really light. Yeah, I'm getting honey and like a custardy thing. A little bit of some cinnamon. It's not quite cinnamon bark. It's more of like an artificial cinnamon. A little bit of citrus, like a lemon tart. Again, that like custardy thing. Maybe a touch of spearmint. Some licorice, but like the red licorice. Are they red vines? Is that what not red vines, Twizzlers. Twizzlers. Yeah, like Twizzlers. But yeah, overall really light. The palate is also light. The mouthfeel is pretty nice. I wish it had a little bit more oiliness to it, but really the heat is not bad for 63%. So it's pretty nice, creamy. There's fruits while it's in your mouth. I'm getting like fresh figs, maybe some golden raisins, and some dried apples. And then once I swallow the sip, I start to get some spices, a little bit like a touch of grassiness, but more on the spice side of things. There's some fresh nutmeg, a little bit of that artificial cinnamon comes through as well. Maybe a touch, just like a whisper of star anise. That like lemon tart thing on the nose has now become like a grapefruit peel, but just everything's kind of like in hints, right? It's just nice and light. I would be curious to see how this compares to Clear Drop and also Super Funk Drop. Maybe a little bit of like a toasted thing on the nose now, like a toasted macadamia nut. But yeah, overall, light. And it's funny that it's called Funk Drop because I think I want more. I don't know if there's funk in the name. I want more funk. But if this wasn't called Funk Drop, if this was called Clear Drop or something, if this was maybe had a different name, I would be like, yeah, this is a really nice light rum. Would probably be awesome in a daiquiri or anything where you're using light rums. Will you tell me if this smells and tastes light to you? Or am I just...
It doesn't smell light to me. I mean, I definitely get low funk, low tropical, pineapple, and then some like caramel. No, it doesn't taste light to me.
It tastes funky?
No, not funky. It's more subtle, but I wouldn't say light. I think it's good. I like it.
Subtle.
Little subtle. A little more subtle on the palate than the funkiness for sure.
Yeah, I think subtle's a good way to describe it. If you have tried anything from Dropworks, let me know what you thought, what you tried, and what you thought about what you tried. Have you tried Funk Drop? Do you think it's funkier than I'm making it out to be? Is it just because I have some very, very funky rums nearby that are kind of skewing my perception of what funky is right now? Let me know. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And stay tuned for the 3 other high ester rums. I did high ester in quotes in the beginning because I would not at all call this a high ester rum. The other 3, yeah, they're more in the high ester category. So stay tuned for those.